Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another Buncee Coffee Talk. I am Rochelle Dene Post, and I'm excited for this video series that we have where I get a chance to sit down and talk with educators about how they're using Buncee, what difference it's making in their classrooms, and using this as a way to kind of bring educators from all around the world together and to learn from one another. So today, I am very excited to have another one of our awesome Buncee ambassadors with us. No laughing on that one. Welcome, Matt, to Coffee Talk.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you are joining us today, so thank you for making the time.
All right, well, thanks for having me. It's exciting to be here. Once I saw this was something that was happening, I wanted to jump in, I wanted to be a part, and just seeing how Buncee is evolving, this being the next step, and getting a chance to meet you at ASCD last year and knowing the Buncee peeps for about 3 years now, it was something I was excited to jump in and share and have a little chat.
Yeah, well, we're glad to have you. And for anybody who may not know you or be familiar with some of your work or your background in education, could you, share with us a little bit about who you are, what you do?
Sure. So my name is Matthew Joseph. I was a classroom teacher for a while and then really sunk my teeth into the leadership side of this as a building principal for 11 years. And through that time, I had opportunity to work with Apple and many other technology operations to see how they, as the director of digital learning and innovation. And I did that the past 3 years. And through that time and that work to try to both launch a one-to-one initiative in our district and also bring in tools that would support the initiative, increase student voice, and have a level of engagement that would move from just students consuming information to really creating information. I had a chance to meet Buncee, and then I took some of the work I did as the district director of innovation into my current role as the director of curriculum instruction and assessment in Leicester, Massachusetts. And one of the things I learned in my last 3 years is that when you separate the digital learning and then the curriculum piece, you're not going to be making the gains within the classrooms that you could. So now I'm here in Massachusetts, in Leicester, Massachusetts, in my current role of the director of curriculum instruction assessment, and really trying to marry both the ed tech and the curriculum to create a learning experience for our students here, because we're also a one-to-one district, as well as having multiple devices for elementary students.
So you have definitely had all of the experiences when it comes from, the perspectives, which is great, because when we look at technology, number one thing is like, well, why do you want to bring technology into the classroom? What purpose is it going to serve? What can it do that's different than what I'm already doing? And I know you know as well as I do, is there's always, like, oh yeah, this is great. And there's, oh, I don't want to use this. You get the pushback, but you've had the opportunity to go through all of those different and see what it's like as a teacher, administration, and, all these different roles. So for you, clearly technology plays, a big role in what you do. In your experience, like what has made the difference for you when either as a classroom teacher or as an administrator, what makes the difference for you when it comes to technology, like in deciding what to use or what to try and, what to go with?
So for me, I really look at, is the tool enhancing the learning opportunities? And if you can do the same thing without it, then don't just add it for the wow factor. Wow, I have this tool. Wow, I have that. An example I often give is in a debate class. Well, when students are debating, they don't need laptops out. They don't need to have some fancy devices up. You're having a conversation and you're debating a topic. However, researching it, you're going to have some tools to research it. Usually do it with other people, so you're using digital tools to create shared opportunities, shared work. And you're using the tools to maximize the learning experience, not the other way around. I talk about wow factor a lot because we get caught up in going to these educational conferences, and you go into the vendor floors and you're just wowed by the tchotchkes and stuff, and you leave with 10 bags of things. But what you have to do is, how going to enhance your instruction? How is it going to enhance the learner experience within the classroom? Or else it's just one more thing. And too often, this is why, and I talked about it in my kind of soft opening about why I like this role of bringing in ed tech to the instruction, because ed tech and instruction are not two separate things. And when you're just adding on one more thing, then it becomes a let's do technology today. One of the things I ask my teachers is please, and I'm asking anyone listening, never start a lesson or never plan a lesson with, what am I going to do with insert ed tech tool today? what am I going to use with blank today? And because what happens is the focus of lesson is on the application, not on the learning. And I think when I first met Buncee 3 years ago, it was a 4-person table in Rhode Island at the EdTech meetup at the Highlander. That's what really grabbed me. It was these 4 people that had an awesome idea. And I was like, and you can ask Buncee Brian, I said, I'm buying 50 licenses on the spot. And he's like, who is this crazy person? I said, this is going to enhance our learners' experience. It's not one more thing. It layers on top of what students are doing, and it empowers them to create. And that was another thing that I had said earlier, is that we're trying to move away from the consumption, like playing school and just sitting there as passive learners. And how are we and what are we doing to bring in tools, bring in ideas that empower students to create, to be real active learners? And Buncee was one of those first tools that I saw, and I was excited to see and seen them grow ever since. We started with our first 50 licenses about 2.5 years ago in my previous district, and then we went full school because I saw the power and impact that the tool could do for our students.
Yeah, and it's a couple of things that you say there. One, the Buncee team is always like, they're amazing. And I know just having been at conferences and seeing their interactions, or even just, online and Twitter and people reaching out, there's so much support that's there. But having that chance, to go and to talk to them, and you said like you bought them right away. So in that case, like, that's awesome to hear, right? Like, it must be so great. What made the difference for you? I know you mentioned a couple of things that you saw, but so quickly, like, what made the difference? But then also, what was the response when you brought that back to your school? Or what has the response been when you bring a tool like this into your school?
So one of the things I was excited about, why I jumped right in, is because the ease of implementation. It besides that, it had a very colorful graphic view. So it wasn't like something I'd ever seen before, but the interface of click and drag, the buttons, the stickers, it was something that was intuitive to the gamification of what students are used to. So it wasn't going to be a big shift of like, oh, now it's these 10 other keystrokes that I have to do that I've never done before. It was something that was user-friendly, that we could implement. Very important. The second piece actually had nothing to do with the tool. It had to do with the people. And when I met the Buncee team at the time, they said, we'll be there tomorrow if you need to. They've come to the district. They've been on phone calls. And for me, and as someone who, my role was essentially vetting all of the vendors, having that level of response and access helped launch in our district. So it made the ease of implementation for our teachers much more feasible, that they felt like somebody was there. Because as you know, as all of us have known, launched EdTech initiatives, one day this is out, next day this is out, 3 weeks later it's like, we can't use this, and the next thing comes in. And we've never had that with Buncee. And the response with our teachers, just like any other, just to be honest with you, it's like, oh, here we go. Here comes Dr. Joseph bringing in another idea. But over time, they realized that if I brought it in, it's been vetted. And what they saw was, let's try it, let's give feedback. And people jumped in, saw the students engaging, and saw that the teacher could step back. And then the questions that the teachers were being asked were not about the tool. And that's important when I look at any ed tech or any curriculum tool for that matter. If students are asking about how do I do this, then the tool isn't designed really well. Students were not asking that. They were excited. They were like, can I do more? Can I do it at home? Can I add this? And the questions they had were more about the learning piece of it. Should I compare 2 animals or 4 animals? Should I bring in just voice into my Buncee, or can I bring in some video as well? And that's when I knew that the tool really had a way to integrate into learning without replacing the student's kind of individuality.
You just said so many things there, and I'm trying to keep track of so many things that stuck out, but the most recent, the individuality, like for some students, just like teachers, right? They might not necessarily want to use technology. I know in my classroom, they're like, like, why can't we just use paper or pen or whatever? And then I have the students who want to keep on doing more, go above and beyond what I've kind of loosely set out for them to do. But it's nice because, like you said, the individuality, the students can do as little or as much as they want. I have found, though, that once those students start to create and find out all that's in there and all of the possibilities, like the endless possibilities that are in there, that they're not saying anymore, like, why do I have to do this? They like having that opportunity to find, something fun to put in. If they want to put in a video, if they want to add audio, the interesting animations. I mean, who doesn't love the dabs or like the
Right.
fidget spinners and all of those things? So that part. But then another thing that you said too about like the community and the connection, it's not just the product and the platform or what it does. It's also the people and having that connection with Buncee and just the network that you get connected to, that you can bring back. If your teachers say, I wish that there were these, assets available in the Buncee library, like there's that communication that happens that really does show that like, it's not just about the tool and it's not just
Right.
about like in the classroom, it's this whole community that ends up forming within Buncee. And that is one of the things I have loved most about it in the time that I've used it too, just like what you had said.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the pieces that I liked is all of our conversations have been around the student experience and then how to enhance that and how to support teachers. It hasn't been about licensing. It hasn't been about, growth of the product within our own district. That happened organically through having conversations with the Buncee team, with feedback that we were able to give. And what happened was, because we started with just 50, it became almost like I want that too. And how can we grow it organically so it became, because those don't work either. So my fear of purchasing it for the full district was like, here's one more thing, and wouldn't use it. But we wanted to purchase what we needed and then build on it. And what we actually did is, this goes out to our tech directors or curriculum instructors or anyone listening in the purchasing side. We actually bought 25 additional licenses because when teachers saw their neighbor classroom doing it, and they're like, oh, I would like one too. Boy, did I feel cool. Like, boom, I got you. Here you go. And just hook them up. I called Buncee Brian, like, hey, this is our new teacher. Here's the email. They had it by lunch. And it just felt like this is a combination. And those were just little things of like purchase 10% more. And yes, it was a little bit extra at first, but the positive culture that you build with that was around support, was around real-time access to content. And then the students started to get excited about using it. And just like anything else, you see something, you want to purchase it, it takes 3 weeks to get there. You've seen 4 other things between the time that you wanted something and it arrived. So that was, for us, one of the successes for launch, is to have it available for our students as well as our teachers.
Yeah. And one other thing I wanted to ask you too is, so you've had all these different roles, and now in your current role, and for anybody who watches and thinks like, oh, I can't use this. Like for me, I teach high school. I don't teach elementary school. However, because I've had these coffee talks and the conversations, I have ideas that I can share, because I do really, there's something in this for everyone. You just have to kind of explore. But for somebody who might be listening that is an administrator or, might be a tech coach or something, I'm not really sure how they can use this, or do you have any ideas for how they might get started with, just testing Buncee out, or how they might use it in their role?
I use it every single day. I used it today. I facilitate a lot of Twitter chats. So within the district, I also use it to post updates about what we're doing in different schools. So I use it both in my personal work outside of here that I use on Twitter, social media, and I also use it within our district to use professional development. I load slides up with photos and videos from other students, for myself, as kind of a tutorial about. So additionally, besides using the social media piece and besides within my district, I've had the good fortune to be able to present at different events and different conferences. And throughout that time, I've shared some Buncees with parents to load up the slide decks that I've used in those sessions. And not only, just like I did on social media, to send out kind of notices of when I'm presenting, where I'm presenting, locations. And I use Buncee for all of that because it's a one-stop shop, because it adds video, it adds photos, it has my text, and includes the imaging that I've used. And because I have access to upload images that I've created, they stay in the Buncee suite. I can easily call them back and forth when I need them. So It's, for me, the first go-to tool I look to as a professional when I look to create content to share on multiple avenues, social media, or within presentations that I utilize.
Yeah, and you mentioned just about conferences and everything. I have been using Buncee to create mine too. They're just so like visually engaging and beautiful. Plus it's fun to create with them, but those are great ideas for how people can use them, not just in, professional. I mean, I've used them to create birthday cards, business cards, bookmarks, you name it. There are so many things that are available. And one of the things I love about it too, and I'm sure you'd say the same thing, is like when it comes to education, like it is not easy today. There are so many things. There's never enough time. And that's one of the things that's tough when it comes to, technology and pulling it in. But with Buncee, having the templates and having the ideas lab where you think, I have 5 minutes, I'd like to create something new, I don't have a ton of time, but being able to just dive right in and find something that's already there definitely makes a difference. And
absolutely. And I think one of the other draws for me, and this is at first going to sound like they're not evolving, but I'm not intending it to be like that. The interface looks very similar to when it began. So it adds so many more components. So that's what I'm saying. I don't want it to seem like it hasn't evolved or grown. It has, and it's been amazing and streamlined and better. So you're always working and building on the tool itself and the foundation. And when that happens, it just makes it such a robust learning platform for both, kindergarten through college students. And I use it every single day almost as a professional as well.
yeah, that is good to hear, because sometimes people will say, oh, well, I don't know how I can use it in my role. It looks like, because you go to the website and you check it out, but it is nice for people and it is easy to navigate, even though maybe the look of it hasn't changed. But I tell you, every time I go in there are so many new things. I get used to where I can find things, and there's all these different, different assets added in all the time, different backgrounds. But
Right.
Again, I mean, just figuring out where everything is, once you get started with it, very easy to continue and build awesome Buncee creations with. So it's always fun to see what people are putting out there on Twitter, for sure.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think one of the other last things I wanted to bring up is that you can't underestimate the power of having the team at Buncee. The people at Buncee have been so receptive to ideas, to growth. And when there were so many new ed tech companies, vendors, tools pop up, trust is an incredible factor in a long-term kind of relationship with districts and a vendor or company. And what I have found is that the people at Buncee are top-notch. The people there are honest and they want the best for kids. And when we find that partnership, it turns into something that we can grow together. And they've often turned it on me of what do your learners need? And when you hear that, that's different from hearing, here's what it costs, here's what you get, good luck, you get one free PD, and then we'll see you next year for the repurchase. And for me, that has been the one thing that's, besides the creativity options, besides the individuality for students, besides giving that, empowering students to go further and get the thoughts in their head onto the screen and make it their creation. Those things are fabulous. One thing that's underestimated is the people, and building that relationship and growing together is what makes both the learners and the company evolve. And I can't say enough about the Buncee team.
And I could not agree with you any more than what you just said. But totally true in that, especially today, like we talk about being connected educators, and that means not just us with one another, like people who teach the same content area in our school, or globally, but I really do believe that we need to set that up for our students, but also connecting with people like the team at Buncee who are so supportive and, like you said, ready to like come to your school or Skype in or whatever, and to get everybody started. So yeah, thank you so much for all of that, those great tips that you've shared and ideas for, not just administrators, but for us as educators in general, taking some risks, trying it out, and having fun as well in the process. So if anybody wanted to reach out to you for more ideas, how would they best contact you?
Well, shoot me a message. You can follow me on Twitter at MatthewXJoseph, or my email is drmatthewxjoseph@gmail.com. I believe in this, and I want to be there to answer your questions if there's something you want to talk about, again, from whatever level you're at, superintendents get on board, because this is where the evolution of education is going.
All right. Well, thank you so much
All
for
right, well,
joining
thank
us.
you.